Hello everyone and welcome back to Making Your Ideas. This time we have a suggestion from SuperPiggeh who says, build a unicorn or else I will be sad. Well, SuperPiggeh, I'm gonna build a unicorn so you won't be sad. Remember to leave your comments on this video for what you want me to build in this world next, and whichever comment gets the most likes I will be building. I've done some organic things in the past, but I'm still not very good at them, so we'll see what happens with this unicorn. Alright, so when building a unicorn, I feel like the most logical place to start is in the legs, because you gotta get a strong foundation for what you're doing, so that's very important. The way I decided to do this, I had a couple of reference images of other unicorns made in the game, so I kind of used those for inspiration as to how this was going to look, as well as my knowledge of horses and similar things. So, granted, I don't have much knowledge on those, so I don't know if that really helped me. Anyway, what I decided to do was to start by building a wireframe of kind of like the very general shape that the horse or the unicorn will be. And then I can just detail it later. I just wanted to make sure that the proportions on all this stuff looked right and that I could plan it out well so that I kind of knew what was going on before I started doing it. So one of the main features of a lot of things is that their legs bend backwards, kind of, at least in the reference image I was using, the legs bend backward. So using that kind of added stuff to it. Instead of the legs just being perfectly straight, they were bent backward. Looks like the the unicorn is about to move, and that kind of feeling works out really well. After designing like the outside leg structure, I filled it in and then shaped it a little bit, focusing more on the back than the front for this, just so I could do the shaping correctly. I also, when building this, I had the thought in mind that I was only going to build half of it and then copy and paste it over to the other side, which kind of ended up happening, but also not really. It's really hard to shape only half of something when you kind of need the whole thing to shape it. So that's just how that ended up happening. I didn't really need to, I couldn't, there's no way I would have been able to build the whole thing without having the other half in there. It would have been, it's too hard for me to visualize, so I just needed that other side in there. But you can see me now like shaping the overall structure, and now I'm building over to the other side instead of copying and pasting, just so I can kind of see what it looks like on the whole. And I think somewhere around this time, I decided to start going for the copy and pastes. Yeah, you can see me pasting it in the air just to make sure I get the command right, and then putting it in to its actual position just so I know what I'm doing. Something else that I did but didn't really talk about is I replaced the bottom blocks of the legs with black, because it's kind of like the horse's hooves, and they looks really good. Leaving it all white would have not been as good, so I'm glad I changed it. It just makes it look better. I experimented a little bit with shaping the inside of the legs, but I determined that that was not actually going to be a good idea. It just did not really look that good, especially with the stuff that I was going to be doing underneath the unicorn, like, because it has an underside too, and if there was too much detail on the inside of the legs, it would kind of make it difficult to shape the underside correctly. So now I was going to do the front. I decided to start off by putting the other leg in place. And the two legs, they look similar. Like the front and back legs, they look similar, but they are actually different. I feel like I could have made the front knees, not knees, like the thigh connectors, I guess, a bit higher. Well, actually, you know what? I don't know what the bone structure of a unicorn is, so I'm not going to call it that. where the leg connects to the rest of the body. That. I feel like I could have made that a little bit higher in the front, though I do not know how that would work. It would be very strange. That would make the front legs longer than the back legs, so maybe that's not a good idea. Uh, I'm only doing it now. I obviously didn't do that on the actual unicorn, so nothing to really worry about. And then, of course, shaping the rest of the horse's or the unicorn's body and just making it look a bit nicer and less rough. Yeah, I mean, honestly, the shaping is the most difficult part of building any organic structure because, I mean, anyone can build straight lines, but it takes a lot to do that kind of natural feeling like body. And even I can't really do it to like the best degree, obviously. I mean, you're seeing the unicorn, it doesn't look perfect. Um, but I feel like it's pretty good. And I think that the wireframing that I did really helped me kind of visualize it a bit better before I went into um, actually starting to build it. I feel like that's been my mistake for a lot of these things, is just kind of going right into it without any like planning as to how it's going to work. And then because of that, I just don't do a good job. So the wireframing and planning it out really helped me. So the part of this whole thing that I'm least happy with is the head. I just feel like there's something not right about it. Maybe that's because I made the proportions of the body wrong. Maybe that's just because I don't know how to build heads. I don't know. In any case, it feels like the neck was like too skinny and mal-shaped. And then the head was just too thick. But I went with it anyway because it didn't look terrible. It just, wasn't like perfect. And I don't really know how I would make it better. So, obviously, since this is a unicorn, there is horns, and I made this horn purple because I like it. I like that color for it. And I wanted to give it a rainbow mane. So what I'm doing right now does not look good. It looks like it's just kind of sticking out, like it's got like a mohawk or something, and that just doesn't work. Like it's no. Like I changed this. Obviously, if I'm talking bad about it now, I changed it. But yeah, that does not look very good. And when building it, I'm like, yeah, that doesn't look very good. So I change it to something a lot more natural by running the hair down the side of the neck. And it looks way better. Honest, that's that little bit. Like, see that? Look at that. It still looks kind of weird now. Like, I don't know why the top of it is even with the top of his head. That doesn't look kind of right. That doesn't look quite right. But I feel like it's better than what it was before. So I added that to the other side as well. Pretty much copying and pasting, though I did place in every block manually. I didn't actually use the copy and paste commands, which, I would have been difficult to do anyway. So I'm not too upset about that. And then finally, there was the tail. Looking back on this now, I probably could have made the tail a bit bigger relative to the rest of the body, but I did the same sort of rainbow pattern in the tail as I did the rest of the unicorn. And that is the finished product, and it looks pretty good. And with that, the unicorn is now finished. And yeah, shaders do make everything look better. I am happy with the way it turned out, and I feel like it does look good even without shaders, but the shaders don't hurt, I will say. They don't hurt at all. Yeah, I really like this thing. In terms of organics, I mean, you look at this thing and you think that can be improved upon. And then you look at this and you're like, you know what, that's pretty good. Obviously it isn't perfect, but this is definitely a step in the right direction for me in terms of being able to build things like this. So I'm happy that I was able to do it, and I appreciate getting the request to do it in the first place. And with that, I'm going to leave this here. Remember to leave your comments on what you want me to build in the next episode of this series, and whichever comment gets the most likes, I will be building. Leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed, leave a comment any feedback you have for me, and I will see all of you later. Bye.